Hello everybody and welcome back to Dubai Autodrome as we get ready for the second race of this third weekend of the Porsche Carrera Cup Middle East for 2026. So, cars have been out this morning for qualifying, and now it is time for the second race of the weekend before we move on in quick succession to Abu Dhabi next week. But first, let's take a look at what is going on here at the circuit. So, the Carrera Cup in its third season now in the Middle East here started in Bahrain back in November and always attracting plenty of attention from the crowds. Good close racing, the fastest one make championship cars on the planet. And these cars, the same as will be used in the Porsche Mobil 1 Super Cup throughout the course of 2026. So lots going on behind the scenes, lots to do for the fans, music and entertainment all the way around, and also cars, a chance to see the cars in action, as well as for some of them a chance to enjoy going out onto the grid and mingling with the cars and the drivers before the start of the race. Well, Porsche's brand has always been deeply involved in racing its product, and starting with the 356 and through into the 911 since the 1970s has been competing with 911 cars. And the Lechner family have been involved for a long time, particularly here in the Middle East. 20 years of involvement in the Gulf states running Porsche racing categories, and now at the top of the tree. So let's take a look at our grid today. Caleb Sumich on pole position for the first time this season, and for the first time this year it is Taichi Watarai on the outside of the front row of the grid rather than on pole. He's had 5 consecutive poles. Row 2 of the grid, as yesterday, is the Saudi racing team, Khaled Al Ahmadi and teammate Saud Al Saud, 3rd and 4th in qualifying, and they had good races yesterday. James Wallace, yesterday's race winner, starts in 5th position, had quicker laps but lost them due to exceeding track limits. And Alexandra Vateva, the splendid racing machine, starting in 6th place on the grid. On row 4, it is the Pro-Am racers. Banksy with the faster of the laps. Cedric Chassang starts alongside him in the orange, black and white Team GP Elite car. So those two very easy to spot. Banksy's with that bright vermilion purpley red. 2 more pro drivers behind them, Max Much-Lechner, the newcomer from Italy, and Josh Berry, not just a newcomer this season, but a newcomer to the series this weekend. The Beamy Racing entry of the 16-year-old driver, his first foray into racing cars with a roof over his head. Then we get to the Masters category. Krista Andero set his lap very early on in the session. He was the first man to set a flying lap, and that remains the fastest of the Masters drivers, ahead of Peter Brecker from the Czech Republic. And behind them on row 7 of the grid, Nikola Petrovic from Serbia and Mark J. Thomas from Canada. So Thomas, the expat Canadian who's been living here in the GCC region for many years and helping to run Aramco, the state oil company in Bahrain. And Aramco, of course, will be deeply involved in the forthcoming Formula One season, not just as a sponsor for the Aston Martin racing team, but as the sole supplier to that team of their 100% sustainable fuel. Formula One, massive rule changes this year, of course, not least of which is the change to sustainable fuel. And as so often has been the case, many of the Formula One Grand Prix, particularly in Europe, will be supported by the Porsche Mobil 1 Super Cup. And those cars, like these, for the very first time, will be using traction control and ABS, further aligning Porsche's Cup car with its GT3 product. GT3 as a customer racing category, looking to look after the gentleman drivers as well as their pro teammates. And GT3 has had traction control and ABS for a number of years, and these cars with them for the very first time. And that is something that some of the more experienced drivers have to get used to, the ability to have traction control and ABS rather than have to do it all yourself, and then how much you allow it to come into play. You can adjust the amount of traction control and the amount of ABS that the car is using right down to an absolute bare minimum so that it's barely noticeable at all. But for newcomers to Cup cars, that gives them an opportunity really to learn the intricacies of these finely balanced machines. Very powerful indeed, and with good grip from their mechanical grip from their tyres, and also from a degree of aerodynamic grip as well. But these Porsche Cup cars that will be used throughout the Porsche Mobil 1 Super Cup and in years to come in the Carrera Cups elsewhere will all then feature traction control and ABS. For series like Carrera Cup GB and France and Italy, and particularly Carrera Cup Deutschland, the main focus of a lot of drivers in Carrera Cup, there will not be traction control and ABS this season because the new generation cars take time to build, and there just simply aren't hundreds and hundreds of them around as there would need to be for the other dozen Carrera Cup series that are around and about. So they will make their debut in the Porsche Mobil 1 Super Cup this season. So fans in the grandstand, and an opportunity there just to see the cars on the grid. The yellow and red of DHL on the car of Caleb Sumich. He is our pole sitter, so he's easy to pick out with those big, broad red stripes, even coming towards the camera, and the different yellow and black Taichi Watarai. Now on row 2 of the grid are two identical livery cars in the green and white of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, the Saudi racing team cars. The way to tell them apart, if you look very carefully at the one that's closest to the camera, a little further forward on the grid, that has green door mirrors, and the other car has white door mirrors. So green door mirrors closest to us, Khaled Al Khalifa, and the white door mirrors, Saud Al Saud. So that's how to tell the cars apart. They were third and fourth on the grid. Yesterday's race winner with the dark grey nose and the yellow stripe, and that is James Wallace, the first of the M-Tech competition cars, and the all dark blue car. Alongside the navy blue, that is Alessandra Vateva for Splendid Racing. So those are the first 3 rows on the grid. The 4th row back, as we get to close to the 2-minute board, the 4th row back has the bright pink-purple car of Banksy. He is our leading Pro-Am driver, and alongside him is the white, black and orange car of Cedric Chassang, Team GP Elite's traditional colours. So the Dutch outfit, there you can see Banksy's car, very easy to spot in any crowd, and the Team GP Elite car, predominantly white but with orange and black highlights, that is Cedric Chassang. So that's row 4 of the grid, and they are our Pro-Am competitors this weekend. Behind with the turquoise highlights, a little bit like a Conrad racing car of old, if you remember those. Max Muchlechner from Italy, and the all-silver car alongside with Beamy on the doors. That is young Josh Berry. Josh Berry, just 16 years of age, comes here from Formula 4, the junior single-seater category. So beginning a single-seater career, and possibly already discovering that going sports car racing is a bit less of a money pit, a bit less of a hole in the ground that you'll never end up filling with cash. Behind them, the 4 Masters cars, Chris Randero, car number 10. Alongside him, 85, Peter Bracek. And then on the final row of the grid, Nikola Petrovic and Mark J. Thomas. So we're inside the 1 minute. Cars are on the ground, engines fired up, doors closed, the grid is clear, and the chase car is ready to follow them around on their single formation lap. So having tried to put a little bit of heat into their tyres on the way to the grid, they have now been sitting there for 15-20 minutes and will need to do that all again. So pit lane open at 2 and closed at 5 past. So that was an opportunity to do an outlap, go through the pit lane and then come to the grid. But beyond that, this is where they're going to build the heat into the tyres. And that's going to be important on the run down to turn 1, the first time of asking. So you can see lots of dark stripes on the far side of the grid as we look at it, under the flag tower. And a little bit more being laid down as well as these drivers leave their grid spots. The simple chemical fact is that tyre rubber sticks better to tyre rubber than it does to tarmac. And so the more rubber there is down, the better the grip levels. You can see there's still quite a lot of sand blown onto the circuit. Quite a lot of dust coming up into the air from these cars as they head off on their formation lap, led by our poleman Caleb Sumich. Chris Randero there just leading the Masters category cars through. So there are overall points for the top 15 finishers in any race, and there are points as well for the Pro, the Pro-Am and the Masters categories. So coming in to the race weekend, we had a close battle at the top of the standings with Taichi Watarai, the points leader, from Khaled Al-Ahmadi and Caleb Sumich. Sumich and Al-Ahmadi were only 2.5 points apart coming in here now. Sumich finished ahead of Al-Ahmadi yesterday, and so that position will have changed. Cedric Chassang, our top Pro-Am driver, was actually 4th in the overall standings, and as it will not surprise you to learn, was leading in Pro-Am. So there are the two Pro-Am competitors. Chassang going through behind the purple car of Banksy. And they are row 5 on the grid. So working their way around the closing stages of the lap through turn 13, 14. And trying to build a little bit of heat into the tyres. And for some of our newer drivers to the series, James Wallace with the bright yellow highlights there, weaving the car around, really trying to wrestle the car around, get some heat into those tyres. He'll start 5th on the grid. Yesterday's race winner, but he was under pressure right from the start from the man who starts on the outside of the front row today, Taichi Watarai. Watarai started on pole yesterday, but had a real challenge from that inside front row position down into turn 1. Turn 1 is a right-hand corner. The racing line is normally on the left, but we'll have to see where we get to. So 14 laps, a maximum time of 30 minutes for the race. We are ready to go here at the Dubai Autodrome. Away we go. Good start from the front row men. A little bit of a tardy getaway from Saud Al Saud, 3rd on the grid. And it is Caleb Sumich on pole position with Taichi Watarai trying to come down the inside. Sumich covers him off. Exactly as happened yesterday. Watarai trying to go the long way around the outside of Sumich, as he did with James Wallace yesterday. Can't quite get through there, but likes to attack early on. And dropping a little further back, Saud Al Saud now being mugged by the Pro-Am leader. Banksy is right behind him trying to get through. Caleb Sumich still leading from Taichi Watarai and up into 3rd place. A great start from 5th on the grid. I thought it was, and it is James Wallace, yesterday's race winner. So there are the top 2, sweeping around through turn 8 and 9. Down the back straight they come. Caleb Sumich the leader, Taichi Watarai in 2nd, James Wallace up to 3rd place. 4th is Khalid Al Khalifa, and in 5th place Saud Al Saud. So the two Saudi racing drivers getting mugged a little in between them. Looks like Alexander Vateva. So Saud Al Saud may still be down in 6th position. Wait for the timing screens to catch up. But the Mark 1 human eyeball tells us that it is Caleb Sumich who still leads as they sweep around down the final third of the lap. Building up speed through 13 into 14. Taichi Watarai right with him. Watarai's race pace yesterday was extremely good, but it is a lead trio now who are just ahead of Khalid Al Khalifa, the Saudi racing driver, in 4th place. Across the line for the first time, it is Caleb Sumich from Taichi Watarai and James Wallace. Then Al Khalifa, Vateva, and Max Much-Lechner has also moved up the order. So has Banksy, and Saud Al Saud had an issue somewhere, because we can see that he was not in the top half dozen. So don't know where that happened. But Caleb Sumich leading, sweeping around the first part of the lap through the tight right-hander at turn 7, and then bringing the speed out through 8. Again, having to slow through corner 9. The exit here is so important to get a good run out of the bank corner 9 onto the straights, because then you're giving away a big toe. Taichi Watarai in 2nd place and Al Khalifa up to 3rd. So what has happened to car number 9, James Wallace? He's dropped down to 4th place. So he made a mistake under braking somewhere just out of camera shot, and Al Khalifa has pounced. Alessandra Vateva in 5th place, Max Much-Lechner in 6th, then Banksy ahead of Cedric Chassang, and young Josh Berry in 9th place. He is ahead of our leader in the Masters class, and that is Peter Brecker now. So the leaders starting to ease away from their rivals. Half a second between the leaders, but 2 seconds back to Khalid Al Khalifa, the first of the green and white cars. And behind him, James Wallace is struggling now for pace ahead of Alexandra Vateva. The Bulgarian driver is all over the back of the Brit. And Vateva, who spent all of race 1 trying to get by the green and white car of Saud Al Saud, is now looking at the tail end of the M-Tech competition car of the race 1 winner, James Wallace. So changes in all the classes other than in the pro class. Sumich started on pole and leads. In fact, Banksy started ahead of Chassang, and he still leads Cedric Chassang. But Peter Brecker moving to the lead of the Masters class ahead of pole setter Kristen Andero, Mark J. Thomas 3rd, and Nikola Petrovic in 4th place in Masters, and 5 seconds ahead of Saud Al Saud. So we didn't see what happened to Al Saud, whether there was a little bit of contact involved or whether he outbraked himself trying to avoid contact, maybe half spun trying to avoid contact. But Saud Al Saud at the tail of the field. You can see in the shot he's way out at the back. There's his teammate Khalid Al Khalifa, James Wallace and Alexander Vateva being held up at the moment. Al Khalifa Al Ahmadi by Khalid Al Ahmadi. So they are dropping away from the leaders at a substantial rate. And this will be frustrating for James Wallace to have got trapped behind the Saudi racing car, having been in front of him away from the start. And so James Wallace, with those bright yellow highlights, is going to have to make a move somewhere. He's looking on the inside in turn 8 rather, and that's going to compromise his speed. Turn 14, I beg your pardon. That's going to compromise his speed down through the final corner. and onto the straight. So leaders come across the line, and then the battle for third place. And Alexandra Vateva was a little too close for comfort there. Wallace going to look late down the inside, not quite able to send it there. That would have been an ambitious move. Now he's going to harass Alak Mahdi all the way through turns 2, 3, and then on the inside, he's got himself on the inside through 4, 5 and 6. This might be the opportunity. Still there, and through turn 6 he goes. Now he'll run out a little wide, but Alak Mahdi does too. He was on a shallow line going in, and into turn 8. It is James Wallace up to third, Khaled Alak Mahdi down to fourth place, and Alexandra Vateva once more with the view of the rear end of a Saudi racing car. So Wallace, 3.8 seconds at the last split behind the lead battle, and Watarai having a very long look there at Caleb Sumich. So the leaders just 3/10 apart, but third place James Wallace is nearly 4 seconds back. So 14 lap race, 11 after this one. We'll have to wait and see whether or not we get the car of James Wallace moving forward. Very little to choose between the leaders. Watarai again looking tight on the inside, and that's really not necessarily going to help him as they come to the end of the lap. Turn 14, not a great overtaking opportunity. He wants to get himself as close as possible to Caleb Sumich in front in a DHL car. Watarai in the 7x7 yellow and black machine in the slipstream, tucked in nicely there, down the front straight, but is he close enough to have a lunge? Maybe on the last lap, but probably not at this stage. That's a long way further back. And James Wallace now out to 4.5 seconds back from 3.9. So Wallace, 0.6 of a second slower that time round. Meanwhile, Alexandra Vateva all over the back of Khaled Alak Mahdi. So Alak Mahdi not as fast as James Wallace. Wallace is starting to ease away. And that's because this battle for fourth place is definitely dropping away from the leaders every lap. So here come the lead duo. Caleb Sumich ahead of Taichi Watarai. We'll wait and see if James Wallace can get any closer. Down here into turn 10. Looks like he's got it nicely controlled. And Alak Mahdi just hanging on there from Alexandra Vateva. She had a really good run out of turn 8 and 9 onto the long back straight down to turn 10. Now she's looking again. She definitely has better race pace than Alak Mahdi. Maybe he used an extra set of tyres in qualifying compared to her, doesn't have fresh tyres for race 2. You have to be a little bit miserly with your tyre allocation on these Porsche Carrera Cup Middle East weekends if you don't want to start the second race with less beneficial tyres than your rivals. And Alexandra Vateva almost climbing over the top now of Khaled Alak Mahdi, trying to find a way past. She's so well placed now onto the front straight. It's not quite as long as the back stretch. Let's see if she can make a move. James Wallace is pulling away ahead. And here comes Watarai down the inside. Challenge for the lead. And he looks like he's just about to go through. Didn't quite make it. Bouncing over the curbs through turn 2. So Caleb Sumich giving away the slipstream to Watarai. There's nothing you can do in that situation. The car behind slows you down as it speeds up. That's the way that slipstream works. It brings the cars together. The car in front loses a bit of top end speed. The car behind gains it because it's not trying to break through a laminar airflow. It's in the turbulence of the car in front. And unlike in Formula One, where you need that aerodynamic grip of laminar air, clean air, with these cars it's less of an issue. That slingshot you get from being in the tow is more important. And again, Watarai all on the inside. Caleb Sumich very much over to the extreme left as the drivers came down the straight, as the driver sees it, and trying to get the perfect line through turn 10, but he did leave the door tantalizingly open. And if there's one thing that we know about Teichi Watarai, it's that he does like to make an attempt to get by you. So through 13 into the slower turn 14, they loop around tighter now, building up speed through corner 15, uphill over the brow and dropping down past the pit lane entry. And again, Caleb Sumich using all the roads, and Watarai showing his nose everywhere. You almost imagine him hunched over the steering wheel, Watarai willing the car to get quicker and quicker. That, of course, doesn't actually work, but it doesn't necessarily stop drivers doing it. He's not hunched over the wheel. The tightness of the seatbelts won't allow that, but he definitely loves to use these cars to try and get by his rivals. James Wallace still 4.7 seconds back in third place, so he is not closing on the lead duo. Does not have the pace in the race of these two drivers, despite the fact that they're battling each other. Just getting a little glimpse of Wallace going through. Meanwhile, coming back up the order, we just saw Krista Andero and Peter Brecker chasing Cedric Chassang and Josh Berry. Headlights flashing. Caleb Sumich will go, yeah, whatever. They totally ignore that. There's James Wallace in third, Khaled Al-Ahmadi still in fourth place, Alexandra Vateva behind him in fifth, and she will be struggling now, starting to suffer because there's a bit less grip, which means the tyres are working harder. There's a bit less clear air, which means the brakes are not cooling so well. They'll be getting hotter. And that was Al-Ahmadi just going by Christian Andero. Not sure if he got through. Here's his teammate, Al-Ahmadi, with Alexandra Vateva behind him. And Vateva, as she did yesterday behind Saad El Saad, may well sit back for a lap or two, allow everything to cool down a little, and then go on the attack again. But Max Muchlechner is not too far behind her, so she will need to be a little cautious with that. Gaps come right down between Caleb Sumich and Teichi Watarai. Here we are, 0.3 of a second across the line, looking very close. 5 seconds back now, James Wallace. And in fact, he is not getting away from Khaled Al-Ahmadi and Alexandra Vateva. What's happened to the leaders? Where are they? Cameras not picking them up, and they need to. Caleb Sumich is only just ahead of Teichi Watarai, and as they head out onto the back straight, Watarai undoubtedly will be trying to make a move for the race lead. Here they come. Teichi Watarai just 0.3 back at the beginning of the lap, and he's still well placed, not quite close enough to Caleb Sumich. Has a look on the inside, tiny overlap, but again, Sumich places the car well. He knows from that right-hander at turn 10, it's a very short run to the left at turn 11. So if Watarai puts his car on the inside in turn 10, he's immediately on the outside, trying to go around the outside of turn 11. And same here from 12. Short run into corner 13. That means going the long way around the outside. Watterai still very close indeed, and making life difficult for the race leader. Midway through the race, 7 laps in, we're on lap 8 of 14, so there'll be 6 to go at the end of this one. And Caleb Sumich this time creeping across the line, 6 tenths in front, so found another quarter of a second over Taichi Watterai before the end of the lap. But Watterai again using less of the road than Sumich, and ideally that should allow Caleb Sumich to be a little quicker and to start to pull away a fraction. So the two leaders now nearly 6 seconds ahead of James Wallace in third place. Wallace, the runner-up in Porsche Carrera Cup Middle East last season, on, again, half a season. He didn't do the races in 2024, only the races in 2025, and that will be the same this year. Didn't do the races at the end of last calendar year in Bahrain and Qatar, and so that's going to leave him chasing our points leader, Taichi Watterai. But for the first weekend this season, Watterai, although he was on pole yesterday after 2 clashes with leader James Wallace, one very early in the race and one later on, ended up in 7th position. So the first time this year he has not been the race winner. And at the moment, Caleb Sumich looking to deny him. Sumich a race winner, I beg your pardon, it's not the first time, it's the second time. Caleb Sumich was the race winner in race 1 in Qatar. So Watterai with 3 wins and 1 second place. He was second behind Sumich in race 1 in Qatar, and it looks very much as though Sumich is doing enough to maintain the status quo out front. But these two still running away from the field, 6 tenths away and now over 6 seconds clear of James Wallace, with Khaled Al-Ahmadi and Alexander Vateva behind. And Max Much-Lechner, who looked as though he was closing in on Alexander Vateva, has not quite been able to do so. So it looks like he's dropping back a fraction, now out to nearly 3 seconds behind the Bulgarian driver. Banksy still leading from Cedric Chassang in Pro-Am. They're 7th and 8th where they started, and just over a second between them. And then Josh Berry in 9th. And Josh Berry, the teenager, started 10th on the grid and up to 9th place ahead of Peter Brecker. And closing on Peter Brecker now is Saud Al Saud. He's in 11th place in the white and green Saudi racing machine, as Watterai again shows his nose on the inside, and the same as last lap, comes all the way down the straight, gradually getting closer and closer, but runs out of straight line before he's in a position to try and put in a pass on Caleb Sumich. So while it's important for Sumich to try and defend pretty much everywhere, because he's never quite sure where Watterai is coming from, the 2 main straights are absolutely key, and that means those 2 corners leading on to the back straight, corner 8, corner 9, he's got to get right. And here as well, through 15 and down through 16, he's got to get 16 absolutely right, otherwise he will give away speed. Watterai comes in deep down through 16, but that means he can't pick up the throttle quite as quickly. So although he closes on the way into the corner, he'll lose a little bit of ground on the way out. But now within 45 hundredths of a second, so less than half a second between them, it's still 2 and a bit car lengths, which doesn't sound like an awful lot, but if you're braking at the maximum, and ABS tends to mean that you are, it's going to be very hard to make up that ground in one manoeuvre under braking. And the problem with coming in off even this distance back for Watarai is that Sumich will see the move coming, will have the opportunity to close the door. Once Watarai is committed, that might end up with a bit more disaster than he was hoping for. So he's still keeping the leader honest, chasing him through with 3 more laps after this. On lap 11, coming towards us at the end of a straight down into turn 10. James Wallace in third, and the safety car is being scrambled. Can see yellow lights in the background. Safety car boards will come out. And Peter Brecker has gone missing. Now, Saud Al Saud was chasing him for what was 10th place. Peter Brecker was the leader of the Masters category, and Brecker has gone missing. So you can see there, Khaled Al-Ahmadi weaving as he slows from racing pace ahead of Alexandra Vateva. And they will see all around the circuit, the yellow flags and the safety car boards come out at the same time everywhere to neutralise the race. And we were getting down to the 2 laps to go mark, but it looks as though they have used the option to add 2 more laps. We still have a maximum time of 30 minutes in which to run the race, but the safety car scrambled so that rescue crews can attend to Peter Brecker, the GT Sports driver from the Czech Republic. So safety car picks up the leader, and that will bring Taichi Watarai right back onto the tail of Caleb Sumich. And that might bring James Wallace into play as well. Well, there you saw Krista Andero. And Andero right at the tail of the field. So did something happen between him and Peter Brecker? We'll have to catch up with that post-race to see exactly what happened. Three laps to go, so 2 at the end of this. We are 18 minutes into our allocated race time. Beg your pardon, we are 22 minutes into our allocated race time. So we have another 8 minutes to get these last couple of laps done. Now, whether the safety car is able to pull in or not, we will have to wait and see. Lights remain on the safety car. Well, lights remain illuminated on the safety car. And so that's always an indication it's not coming in this lap. Drivers behind the safety car weaving from side to side, working those tyres, keeping the heat in them. It's generating that side load in the sidewall that helps to keep the temperature in the carcass of the tyre. So almost everybody now in the queue. Queue sort of ends with Saud Al Saud. Mark J. Thomas leading in the Masters class, has yet to catch them up. There he is now. So you can see Thomas and Petrovic, beg your pardon. So in the Pro class, that is your lead group. Pro-Am, Banksy ahead of Cedric Chassang. And in the Masters class, it is Mark J. Thomas who leads from newcomer Nikola Petrovic. So Krista Andero dropping to the tail of the queue. and safety car out to attend to the incident with Peter Brecker. Penultimate lap of the race. This and one more remain, and whether they will both be behind safety car, we will have to wait and see. So there's the overall standings. And your leader with the red and yellow, Caleb Sumich, Taichi Watarai right behind him. And then last year's championship runner-up and yesterday's race winner, James Wallace, in third. So Mark Thomas and Nikola Petrovic are the final running cars. Krista Andero and Peter Brecker. We did see Krista Andero moving earlier on. So, contact between Banksy and Saud Al Saud. Interesting. We will wait and see what the fallout from that is. And meanwhile, safety car leading them down the backstretch. So we do not have Chris Randero on the back of the queue. No, he's not there. Although that does appear to be him in the background. There's somebody else certainly circulating in the background, and it's not the safety car because he's in the foreground. So we'll wait and see where this gets us to. Now, safety car coming in this lap, so we should have one racing lap, and this is going to pile the pressure on our race leader, Caleb Sumich, with Taichi Watarai behind, and James Wallace, Khaled Al Ahmadi, and Alexander Vateva. So they are coming round to restart the race. Safety car heading for the pit lane, Caleb Sumich pacing the queue. Back to green flag racing here in the Dubai Autodrome, and everybody fanning out down the straight as we go green after that safety car period. Caleb Sumich, the leader from Taichi Watarai. Sumich right over on the driver's right-hand side. Watarai goes wide around the outside into turn one. It's all or nothing. There's contact between them. And on the dirty side of the track, Watarai spins out. James Wallace up to second. And then Khaled Al Khalifa and Saud Al Saud with an excellent restart up to fourth place. Whether that was ambitious or not, I'm sure the stewards will have a look at. And Alexander Vateva dropping down the order as the leaders battle side by side. Here's contact at the start of the final lap. And Watarai picking up the throttle there, but not enough grip. And spinning out on the outside. So there's still Caleb Sumich from James Wallace, yesterday's winner. Al Ahmadi and Al Saud up to third and fourth. Banksy in fifth. There's damage on the front of Much Lechner's car in sixth position. And then Josh Berry and Cedric Chassang side by side as Wallace tries to go around the outside at turn 10. Didn't work yesterday for Watarai. Wallace comes on back in front, but he's gained an advantage by running off track, runs off track again. He's still there. There's going to be a lot of work for the stewards to do after this. Wallace in front, and around the outside comes Khaled Al Khalifa trying to throw his hat into the ring for victory. Saud Al Saud is there as well. Caleb Sumich being duffed up, and through 13 they go. And Sumich down to third place. Al Khalifa up to second. Sumich comes around the outside. He's not given this one up, but it's a long, tightening left-hander. Now he's on the inside through corner 15. He'll go back up to second place. He won't get to James Wallace. The checkered flag awaits, and Caleb Sumich deep on the inside. But it will be James Wallace who leads them across the line. The checkered flag should be out, and is. And James Wallace first to the flag from Caleb Sumich. Khaled Al Ahmadi in third, Saud Al Saud in fourth place, with Banksy in fifth in the pink car, and Max Much-Lechner in sixth position. Now they're racing on. This does not look like a group of drivers who've realised that the race has stopped. Now they might do, not quite at full race pace. And James Wallace taking no chances there. Always hard to know when you're in the car and things change. He will have had his eyes peeled for the checkered flag. So the race directors will look at those last lap incidents. And actually, I have to say, for James Wallace, he did go off track and come back on in front, and that may not play well in his favour. But James Wallace, yesterday's race winner, is first to the line again today. And you can see the two Saudi racing drivers side by side. Everybody running offline to pick up a bit of rubber and other debris off the side of the circuit. Why do they do that? Why do they make their tyres all mucky? Because everything you pick up is a bit of weight. So gaining an advantage by exceeding track limits is the worry over that win for James Wallace. Now, the good news for him is that Caleb Sumich was still second at the line, and so they could give James Wallace a time penalty sufficient to drop him back to second behind Caleb Sumich, but still ahead of Khaled Al Ahmadi. Had that not been the case, then he might not have that going in his favour. So although he was first at the line, and is also the first man to head into the pit lane, it may be that he is retrospectively slipped back to second place, where perhaps he might have been had he not made that off-track manoeuvre. Of course, the problem for the stewards then is if Caleb Sumich had not finished ahead of Khaled Al Ahmadi, then what do? Drop him back one place behind Al Ahmadi, but it was Sumich that he took advantage of. So anyway, that's not the case. In the end, all they have to do is give him more than 0.461 of a time penalty, and that will drop him back into second place and leave Caleb Sumich as the race winner. But they will take a look at the video, they will take a look at all the data, and probably now the race is finished, hear from the drivers before they make a decision. So Saud Al Saud there, out of the car, you can see with the helmet on. And Khaled Al Khalifa comes in alongside him, the two Saudi racing drivers. Busy race for both, busy restart for Saud Al Saud as well. Going to be interesting to see how that one happened, because he came up from 6th or 7th to 4th place. Front and rear bodywork on these cars, very quickly changeable. In fact, pretty much every body panel apart from the roof is very quickly changeable. These are less of a car than a roll cage with parts assembled to them. That's the way of modern racing cars, because damage can be incurred, and the more parts that are removable and replaceable rather than welded onto the chassis, the quicker that is. So everybody heads back in. Mark J. Thomas coming in just at the bottom of the shot there on the right-hand side as we look at the cars parked up to the garage. And the drivers will leave their cars in Parc Fermé. Quick conflab between our two Saudi racing drivers. All right, so, yeah, okay, a degree of dissection of what went on. Max hit her, so the damage on the front of Max Muxlechner's car seems to be from the Italian making contact with the tail end of Alexandra Vateva's car at the restart. So Saad Al Saad, closest to us, obviously intimating that he got hit from behind as well. We saw the damage on the back of his car. And so, yeah, diagnosis of that. Again, plenty for the stewards to get on with. Did anybody overtake, for instance, before the start-finish line? That will be another detail that needs investigating. So if you're further back in the queue in the safety car, the temptation often is to pick up the throttle nice and early and make a good restart. The problem is if you pass the car in front, or you start passing the car in front before the start-finish line, then you're in real trouble. So race 6 of the Porsche Carrera Cup Middle East, the second of the weekend here at the Dubai Autodrome. And at the start, Caleb Sumich from pole under real pressure from Taichi Watarai, pressure that never relented. A spin early on for Saad Al Saad. It looked like potentially after contact, dropped into the tail of the field and triggered a big recovery drive. Then a battle as Khaled Al-Akhmadi held off yesterday's winner James Wallace. Watarai continuing to pile on the pressure as the Pro-Am and Masters categories battle. The safety car, 2 laps initially from the end, and then 2 laps were added to the race distance, allowing us to go green for 1 lap. And James Wallace getting through after running off track ahead of Caleb Sumich. Sumich ending up in 2nd place at the checkered flag ahead of Khaled Al-Akhmadi, and Saad Al Saad coming up from something like 7th at the restart to 4th position. So hopefully all okay with Peter Brecker, the driver from the Czech Republic. There was an incident that required the intervention of the safety car so that the rescue crews could get to him and his car in safety. And local waved yellow flags, full course yellow would not have worked in that instance, so the safety car scrambled just a few minutes from the end, but we got through all of our racing laps and the safety car was able to be withdrawn with the opportunity of one final racing lap as we went green for the last time round. So an opportunity now, hopefully, to hear from our drivers after the race. There might be quite a lot of chatter going on after the race, actually. And so we'll have to wait and see exactly what happens with our drivers and with the stewards, but I think that we will probably end up with our podium ceremonies before all of that deliberation. And there's often frustration with fans, audiences, watching racing go, well, why? It's obvious what happened. Why can't they just say so and get on with it? Because there are cases where it is seemingly very obvious what had happened. Sometimes there might be extenuating factors, such as a mechanical issue with the car, let's say maybe with the braking. There's Peter Brecker's car heading back in. Doesn't look to be too badly damaged. It may be that there was a puncture or some other damage on the car that stopped him being able to drive to a place of safety. And so it is the duty of the stewards, just like in a court of law, to examine evidence rather than just go, yeah, well, he'd done it. So they examine the evidence. Often that will require video evidence from the TV truck, or maybe from the onboard cameras, or both, and a chance to look at the telemetry from the timing systems, and also maybe live telemetry coming from the cars, depending on the status of the series and what's available to the stewards, and also to hear from the drivers. And sometimes the driver who is in the wrong will say, yep, absolutely misjudged that, really sorry, that's completely my fault. Sometimes they go, no, he shut the door on me and it's nothing to do with me and it's his problem. And You often find with two drivers there are two different views of the same incident, and so then the stewards have to be like Job, really try and deliberate with the wisdom of Solomon, but without taking the rest of the week to do so. So, and particularly when, I mean, in any race there are positions at stake. In any race there are podiums and wins potentially at stake, and points make championship bids and so on. So it might be the very first race of the series, it might be the very last race of the series, but incidents can materially affect how people finish in championship battles, how people finish in the overall series, and that can affect all sorts of things like sponsorship deals and potential future drives and so on and so forth. So the stewards, I mean, it's not a court of law in the way that it would be for anybody other than a racing driver, but in terms of the racing drivers, it very much is and has to operate as such. So evidence has to be considered and deliberated on, and penalties awarded in line with what is laid down in the rule book. So you can't just go, okay, give us your license, you're never driving again. That doesn't work. That you have to go with whatever penalties are applicable. And so particularly if they decide, for instance, that James Wallace did gain a lasting advantage and won the race because he went off track and did not give the position back when he came back in front, and we saw that he didn't, then they may decide, okay, well, we'll insert him into second place where he probably might well have been by giving him a time penalty. It might be that in the regulations, if you gain an advantage by going off track, there is a mandatory time penalty that must be added to the time. So we'll wait and see what happens with that. That brings a busy weekend for Porsche Carrera Cup Middle East towards its conclusion here at the Dubai Autodrome. We will wait for our MC and the podium ceremony, which should come up in just a few minutes, and she will talk us through that, introduce our drivers, and you never know, maybe get a word or two with some of them as well. And then everybody, well, drivers will pack themselves up, and the team will be busy packing all the cars, all the kit, all the spares, all the wheels and tyres and everything else into the shipping containers so that they can head over to Abu Dhabi and begin again next week. And so again, next weekend, it will be the same format as this. It will be a 2 qualifying session, 2 race weekend. So February the 1st and January the 31st and February the 1st at Yas Marina. So we will have our qualifying session on Saturday at 15:30 GST local time and 11:30 AM Greenwich Mean Time for 30 minutes. Saad Al-Saad and Khalid Al-Khalifa having a bit of a wrestling match. See Banksy there in the centre with the glasses on. And everybody else waiting for the podium ceremony. So yeah, qualifying at lunchtime, race in the afternoon next week. Race will be starting just after 3 local time, and on Sunday qualifying bright and early. It will be 0700 GMT, 1100 local time at Yas Marina, and the race will get underway at largely the same time as today, actually, just after 10 AM local time. So Mark Thomas diagnosing the race, and alongside him Christopher Andero, Cedric Chassang. I imagine a lot of this actually relates very directly to the safety car restart and what exactly happened in front of all of them. Taking on fluids. You can see it's been warm work for everybody. It's been overcast this weekend rather than absolutely baking sunshine, but still plenty warm enough. So lots of fans down to watch the podium ceremony. Massive car culture, of course, in the Gulf states. They love their cars, and the faster they are, the more they tend to love them. And so seeing these Porsches driven door handle to door handle, clearly appealing to a lot of the audience. And that's likely to be very much the case at Yas Marina as well. So there is the car of James Wallace, and he was the man who was ahead at the flag. So until we hear differently, he is our race winner. And it might be up to the stewards to come up with their final decisions at a slightly later stage. And don't forget, if you're catching up with Porsche Carrera Cup Middle East for the first time via the live stream on the YouTube channel or anywhere else you might be finding us, then you can see all of the season's races on YouTube, and you can take back a look at some of the highlights of last year as well and check out what happened there. So midway through the championship at the moment, with 3 race weekends done and 3 race weekends still to go. And we have a final result has been issued. Thank you to Mikko Schusch from the organisers for that. He's down there corralling everybody. And there has been a 5-second time penalty added to the race time of James Wallace, and unfortunately for James, that seems to be a statutory penalty. So the stewards have not been able to drop him back into the second place where he might have finished had he not gained that advantage by going off track. And because everybody was so close together at the line, James Wallace has dropped down to 11th place. So our winner confirmed as Caleb Sumich, the Aussie, taking his 2nd race win of the season. Khaled Al Ahmadi in 2nd place, and Saud Al Saud completing the podium for Saudi Racing. 2 cars on the podium today. That is your 1, 2, 3. Banksy, our Pro-Am winner, as was. He's 4th overall from Max Muchlechner and Josh Berry in 6th, with Cedric Chassang 2nd in Pro-Am in 7th, Alexandra Vateva in 8th, Mark Thomas winning in Masters in 9th. And for me, Martin Haven, that is it for this weekend. I will see you next week, but let's enjoy our podium with our MC.
We don't have audio.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the podium ceremony of Porsche Carrera Cup Middle East 2026. It has been a thrilling weekend. I'm your podium presenter, Zara Faruqi, giving you the top 3 of overall champions and the category winners of this weekend's races. So, it's been thrilling. How was your experience down here at Autodrome, guys? I think you can do a little bit better than that. Come on, some energy, guys. Today, we're here to celebrate not just the race winners, but the drivers, the teams, and the whole region for pushing motorsports in Middle East. So let's kick off with the podium winners. Are you guys ready? So we will start with the overall winners. Let's start off with the third place. Introducing up onto the stage, we have Saud Al Saud from Saudi Racing. Calling up to second place, we have Khalid Al Hamadi from Saudi Racing. Let's give a big cheer. It was tight for the first place winner. It was a close call and it was intense. But we will announce the first place winner from no other than DHL team, Caleb Sumich. Now honoring these top three P3, 2, and 1 podium winners of the overall race, we have Juma Khalifa Al Nabuda, the board member of the Khalifa Juma Group of Companies, to give our P1 his award. Thank you, Mr. Al Nabuda. Let's go on to P2. We have Mark Sinclair, the General Manager of Porsche Center Dubai Northern Emirates, to give the P2 award. Awarding our P3, we have no other than Manfred Brunel, from CEO of Porsche Middle East and Africa. Let's get everyone to step up to take a group photo, and then we can catch a word with the rookie winner after. Our rookie winner, you still have another award to collect. Back on P1, Caleb Sumich. Our rookie winner, Caleb Sumich, is going to be awarded by Michael Dreiser, Director Sales of Porsche Motorsport, for his rookie award. Caleb Sumich, the man, the legend, and also the P1 and rookie winner. How are you feeling about today's race?
Yeah, it was really good. It was a tough race. We led most of the laps besides the last lap. And it was a close call with me and James. Unfortunately, this is not the way I wanted to win it. I wanted to cross the line first, but that's the rules, unfortunately. And yeah, we come away with the win, so I'm really happy.
There's plenty of more races to come. Next weekend, you're in Abu Dhabi. How are you feeling about that?
Yeah, coming off a win, I guess I'm going in there quite confident. Abu Dhabi is a track that I really like, so hopefully I can enjoy it and get a couple more wins.
Congratulations, Caleb. Take care and enjoy your awards. Celebrate and get some rest time until the next weekend. But congratulations to the overall P1, 2, and 3 and our rookie winner. We have so many more categories to go through, so let's get started. Starting off with the Pro-Am, let's call the second winner. It is no other than from Team GP Elite, Cedric Chassan. Calling up our first place in the Pro-Am category. Let's call up from 7x7, Banksy! If we can call up Mr. Juma Khalifa Al Nabuda back on stage to give Banksy, our first place Pro-Am winner, the award.
जाना बोलना हाँ?
Calling up to give our P2 Cedric Chasang, we call up Mark Sinclair back onto the stage to give his award. Fantastic drive from both these drivers. Many more categories to come, so we say thank you to them. And we move on to the Masters class, the gentleman drivers who come with so much passion, precision, and performance. Let us call up third place, Krister Andero from MTech Competition. Next up, we have in P2, Nikola Petrovic from Flanner Racing. And nonetheless, our P1 in the Masters class, we have Mark J. Thompson from M3L Team. So if we can call back Mr. Al-Nabuda to give us the P1, his award. Let's give a cheers for our top three. Followed by that, we have Mr. Mark Sinclair to give us our P2 winner, his award. Now we have our P3. It's no other than Manfred Brunel to give his award. Thank you. Let's step up for a picture. Big smiles. A cap thrown to the crowd. Congratulations, whoever got that cap. And now we go on to our second last category, a very important and special category, the GCC category. This represents the future of motorsport in this region, and it's important to recognize regional talent, opportunity, and growth around the Middle East. So we encourage more drivers from the Middle East to take step into professional racing, and one day we hope to see you down here at Porsche Carrera Cup in the future. So let us go to our GCC category. We have in second place, Saud Al Saud from Saudi Racing. And followed by that, we have in our first place, Khalid Al Ahmadi from Saudi Racing. Big cheers, everyone! Juma Khalifa back on stage to give our P1 his award and also to recognize the regional talent of the Middle East. If Mr. Juma Khalifa Al Nabuda can step up. recognizing talent from this region is very important because this is the future of motorsport. In the Middle East, we're all here. We really want to get a bigger name for the motorsport here. Going to our second place, Mr. Mark Sinclair, please step up to give our second place winner his award. Big smiles from the crowd, big smiles from the drivers. Congratulations! Now, lastly, we have the team winner. The team winner motorsport is not a solo effort. It's a group effort, and that's why it's important to recognize the managers, engineers, and mechanics and strategists behind the scenes working tirelessly, getting zero sleep to make sure these races happen. So let's call up our team winner. It is Saudi Racing, and representing Saudi Racing, we have Paul Spooner. Saudi Racing going home with a lot of trophies, a lot of happiness, and great positions. They have two amazing drivers. Congratulations. To present the team award, we have Michael Dreiser, the Director of Sales of Porsche Motorsport. Congratulations to everyone, every driver on the grid today, to all the fans and the crowd and the organizers. So many people came to support the Porsche Carrera Cup 2026, and we hope to see you next year. But there are more rounds to come. Next weekend, we're in Abu Dhabi for the whole weekend for racing. But thank you, everyone, for your support, and really appreciate seeing you today. And that's from my side. Hope you have a great event. Take care. Bye-bye.